Shanti, good morning or good evening to some of you. Really good to be back with you on a Saturday after a while. And in a little while, we'll hear one of Mama's classes. We began this series on Wednesday. I'll get the videos over to all of you later today. And one thing that the daddies had taught us was the importance of preparation. At the confluence age, every day has its own speciality. We could accumulate something unique each day. In most other traditions, they wouldn't be giving so much importance to every day. There would be importance to some days. But if you look with the BKs, every morning we are celebrating a meeting with the Father at Amrit Vela. We are then being taught directly by the Father. And through the day, we are experiencing Baba's companionship, and we are getting the opportunity to use everything in a worthwhile way. So for us, every day, Baba says, is a festival day. And then within that, there are some days where we get bonus attainments. And you think about Shiv Jayanti, you think about 18th January, Brahma Baba's Day. And then we've had Mama's Day coming up, the Senior Daddy's Day. So Daddy Janki in London used to put a lot of emphasis on preparation. In those days, the daddies were still here mainly, so we were mainly focused on 18th of January. And she was the one who began to say it's the month of angels. And the idea there was that you actually begin to have a month where you're thinking about 18th January, you're having extra yoga, you're listening to Baba's stories, and you're preparing your mind and intellect for the actual day. And similarly for Rakhi tying in August, she turned the whole of August into a month of extra yoga. And what they taught us was that the mind and intellect do need a period of preparation for us to be able to absorb the maximum amount of benefit on the actual day. And we have for some years had some preparation for Brahma Baba's Day and Mama's Day. But in these last 6 months, I think we've taken it up a level. And since December, we've been doing early Amrit Velas. I know some of you have joined us for those from 2 a.m. onwards. And it was the first time this year that I did it as preparation for Shiv Jayanti. And then we continued it on to Daddy Janki's day. And we're continuing that anyway. But then the thought comes also, you need knowledge too, as part of the preparation. And Mama's classes are a treasure for us. And sometimes it's useful just to sit down, sort of almost make yourself sit down and hear those classes again, think about those classes. So when it comes to the attainments on the actual day, we have got a level of preparedness of the mind and intellect in terms of yoga and in terms of knowledge. So the day is the 24th of June, and no doubt there'll be things happening in Madhuban that we can tune into, and maybe also at your center. But what we will do for these next number of weeks is try to meet at least 2 times in a week to read one of Mama's classes. So we'll begin that in a few minutes with Ranjan Ben. But before we begin, I wonder if there's anyone who would like to ask anything or share anything. Ambika Ben, good to see you after a while. Would you like to start us off?
So happy that you're able to meet this Saturday. It's been a while. I know I wasn't able to join the Amrit Vela meditation because of my time in here. For me, I think things have escalated where service is concerned. I've moved back to the South, so I'm at the South Center, which is the headquarters in Trinidad. So I started to do a lot more service there. And what I've found, there are days when really, if I'm not feeling too well and I really force myself and I say I have to go to the center to do the service, and I've started back giving the course, which I haven't done in years. At the end of the day, it's really Baba's magic of how you feel so much better. Whatever you're going through, it becomes so minimal. So within recent times, I have found that I've never really liked talking too much. I think I talk the most when we have these sessions, but I've found that I've wanted to become even more quiet. I'm seeing things unfolding that's so long ago in the 60s and the 50s. And while we were having the silence just now, I was reminiscing about Mama and her days and how she was, how she carried herself, how she interacted with the souls who were there, with sweetness, with gentleness, qualities that we originally have, and we may have gotten rough around the edges, and how important it is to carry ourselves with royalty. That has been on my mind within recent past, and Baba has been speaking of that too in Murli's within recent time. Our royal behavior. And I think for me, while our sanskars are originally those, I feel when we really put it into practice, then internally we're able to get those sanskars being emerged more and more. So there will be times when I would forget, but I think more and more within recent times, I am trying to emerge those sanskars more and more, because for me, being now in a practical way with royalty, behaving in that of royal behavior, makes it even easier for the transition to take place. So basically, that has been happening with me. There are challenges sometimes, but not as much as before, where my body is concerned. But each day I see it as a new day. And I've always found that whatever challenge that I go through, I always look to see what is the benefit. And one of the main benefit when we go through, particularly anything on the physical, I'm seeing it as finishing and not accumulating. And how I finish it is not to create more karmas, negative karmas, that is. So basically that's it. And I think I'm becoming a little bit more and more detached, because there are a lot of souls who close to the yagya have left body. The souls who I know are leaving bodies. And I've never really been affected too much where leaving body is concerned with souls that I know. So I'm recognizing, Baba keep telling us everything is suddenly. We're looking at climate conditions and what is happening. I tend to follow a lot on the web on these climate changes that's happening around the world. So for me, it's mentally, Baba's telling us, and mentally preparing more and more. Anything is happening suddenly, and I'm asking myself, have I accumulated enough to face those situations that are to come? Sometimes I think I have, sometimes I think I don't. And I tell myself, when the moment comes, I will really know. But I think what is most important now is, you've always said it, our accumulation. We accumulate or we using up what we do have. We always have to have this extra amount to face whatever situations are to come. Shanti.
Yeah, thanks for getting us started. And you'll remember we had the morally just in this last week on Baba's narrative of what is wisdom in contrast to knowledge. And he was saying that you got a lot of cleverness in the world, and yet people are not peaceful. People are not happy. So where is the wisdom? In the golden age, we won't have even Baba's knowledge, but yet you wouldn't say they're not wise. They are peaceful, they are happy. And I think a large part of this for wisdom for us is not accumulating any more karmic accounts. It's something that Sister Jayanti does emphasize a lot in her classes. And I think this is where Mama really led the way. So as you were describing, you were using the term royalty in behavior. I think it denotes her attention not to accumulate in the negative, that there's a wisdom here where Baba is saying to us that, okay, you might not win the limited battle. So maybe there's an argument with someone and we have the sanskar that we want to win that argument. But that winning of the argument just makes us angry, makes them angry. Now, we could keep going and be stubborn and forceful, and we win that limited argument, but then we've accumulated in our negative account for the future. And so Baba would question us, is that wise? Or is the wisdom to lose the limited argument and not accumulate in the negative account for the future? And what happens is that it's like a reprogramming for our mind. Another theme that's come up this week has been around the resistance of Maya. And so what would happen in those situations is part of our mind will not want to lose the argument. And it will feel like that's important. In this morning's Morally, Baba's talking about our tendency to want to accumulate money. We think about our family, and that's okay. But if it's stopping you from accumulating in your spiritual accounts, Devi Janki always preferred if BKs could have a salaried job for that reason. She was cautious about BKs starting their own business. But I mean, I think it can work because, for example, if you're the business owner, you can always appoint a manager to run things for you. So you can sometimes be even more free. But what their point is that if it means like you've opened your shop up all night and then you're not able to get up at Amrit Vela and you're not able to hear the Morally, then immediately Baba and Daddy are going to tell you that you haven't got your balance right. And so it's really this thinking about what am I accumulating? Am I accumulating in the positive? And am I avoiding an accumulation in the negative? And it's, if I've remembered the date correctly, it's the 4th of December, 95, Morally. We did have it repeated last year. And I remember it vividly because there's a scene after the Morally where Baba calls the daddies onto the stage to meet him. And this was the Diamond Jubilee anniversary for the Yagya, for the daddies. Baba started his task in 1936, so the year 1995-96 was the 60th anniversary. And what he commented to the daddies was quite unusual. Usually he would just be talking about their positives, of which there are many. But he actually gave them a teaching on the stage, and that's why it stays in my mind, because Baba wouldn't do that if he wasn't teaching us more than them. And what he was talking about Ishu Daddy, who left us a few years back, I think maybe during COVID time. And she was Brahma Baba's secretary, and then Daddy Prakash Rani's secretary. And he was talking to the daddies about this topic of maturity. And he was saying that Ishu Daddy had this speciality that if you told her anything, she'll never share it anywhere else. And he was saying that he felt that some of the daddies were not doing that, that they were hearing things from someone about someone and then sharing it with others. And he gave the example of Mama. He said that if you think about it, Mama came to Baba the same time as all of you, as all the daddies. But she reached her Karmatit stage many decades earlier. And he said that one of the main reasons was that Mama was very good at accumulating 100% in everything that she did and not accumulating anything in the negative account. So for her, it was a very straight path to becoming karmatit. Just accumulate in the positive, don't accumulate in the negative. And she did that for 30 years and got there. And so I think for Mama, why is she Saraswati, the goddess of wisdom? This whole notion of wisdom is about, it's not about being clever. It's about where am I accumulating and where am I not accumulating? So thanks for getting us started. Is there anyone else who would like to ask anything or share anything? Okay, let's hear Mama's class, and then if someone wants to ask anything hearing that, they can do so. So I'll hand over to Ranjan then now. This one.
Om Shanti. Good morning to all. This is the class of 12th December. Last Wednesday we read the 11th December 58, and today is 12th December 1958. Mama says purity is connected with Karma Yoga. So something to think about, give exercise to the intellect. How? So purity is connected with Karma Yoga. Karma Yoga is more elevated than, what do you think? Liberation. Karma Yoga is more elevated than liberation. Mama says all human beings speak of righteousness and irreligiousness, happiness and sorrow, knowledge and ignorance, and right and wrong. So people outside talk about righteousness, irreligiousness, happiness and sorrow, knowledge and ignorance, and right and wrong. But they are totally ignorant of what these things really mean. The Supreme Soul has to come to establish a religion and to destroy irreligiousness. Only the Supreme Soul can carry out the task of establishment and destruction. So do you remember? And on Wednesday, 11th December, it was about darkness. And today Mama has taken up about ignorance. So the Supreme Soul has to come to establish a religion and to destroy irreligiousness. Only the Supreme Soul can carry out the task of establishment and destruction. Since only the Supreme Soul carry out this task, he must also know about religion and irreligiousness, knowledge and ignorance. We know that according to the law of nature, the world cycle is based on karma. Let me hear you. The soul has to perform karma, actions. Karma is eternal, and this is why the Supreme Soul has taught us about karma yoga. So the balance of doing karma with our hands, legs, whatever, all the our faculties, you know, we have to know about that. So the soul has to perform karma. Karma is eternal, and this is why the Supreme Soul has taught us not about what those really taught us about karma yoga. We have to know about that because we did not know what those really elevated actions were. We became separated and fell. The Supreme Soul came and taught us how to perform elevated actions. He established religion throughout the entire world and destroyed irreligiousness. He did that by performing actions. He established a religion through which the entire world became peaceful, pure, and happy. The Supreme Soul explained about Karma Yoga and not Karma Sannyas. In bracket, it is explained the renunciation of karma. Sannyas means the renunciation. So Baba teaches us to have the balance of yoga and karma, and we need to perform elevated actions. He does not say renounce actions, do everything. That's why our path is Raj Yoga is a path of family path, Pravruti Marg, family path. But Baba teaches us all the balance and also righteous actions, elevated actions. So he did that by performing action. He established a religion through which the entire world became peaceful, pure, and happy. The Supreme Soul explained about Karma Yoga and not Karma Sannyas, the renunciation of karma. There should be knowledge about karma and whether something is right or wrong. When people say that it is good to be liberated, there is then no question of karma. God taught us karma yoga, that whilst playing this part and on the basis of this karma, human beings can create that elevated stage. So when Mama said liberated means here moksha, moksha, you know, the eternal liberation, some moksha, the other day Baba mentioned in the Murli. So there is no eternal, everybody has to come, and this is why Baba is teaching us the righteous actions. So Mama was talking about that, you know, up there about liberation there, it meant moksha. No. When people say that it is good to be liberated, means to have eternal liberation, there is then no question of karma. God taught us karma yoga, that whilst playing this part and on the basis of this karma, human beings can create that elevated stage. Everything applies to the human world. If liberation were elevated, why would the Supreme Soul give more importance to karma? If he did, then he would say, you should attain that which is beyond karma and karma. That's karma.
Well, it's just a very interesting narrative. So as we go through these classes, you'll notice that one of Mama's regular themes is this topic of karma. And as she was just explaining, it's a unique question that she's posing, that if liberation were more elevated than karma, why does the Supreme Soul not come and teach us about eternal liberation? And what is unique about Baba's path is that we are actually not aiming to free ourselves from this cycle of rebirth. Most pathways that are focused on meditation like we are, there would be an aim to free ourselves from this world permanently, to go back to nirvana, to merge back into the light, to not return. And yet Baba does not even put that onto the table as an option. He says that your purpose is this drama. Now the question then arises, what experience do you want inside of this drama? And so what Mama is explaining is that it is possible to liberate ourselves from sorrow, because why does someone want to be liberated from this drama? I suppose the most famous story is of the founder of Buddhism, Prince Siddhartha, who later became known as the Buddha. And a lot of his question and disinterest was based on seeing sorrows in his kingdom, and he couldn't understand, why would God create a world like this with all these sorrows? And what is the purpose of life if you just end up in sorrow? So what you get is this desire to be liberated because of the sorrows that we have experienced ourselves or we see others experience. But what Baba teaches us, which Mama is clarifying for us, is that you can be within the drama and be liberated in life. And this is known as Jivan Mukti, liberation in life. This term is used in Hinduism and also in Sikhism. But until Baba comes and explains what it is, we don't really know. So what Baba says is that Jivan Mukti is even higher than Mukti. So liberation in life is higher than liberation. So to be within this drama and to be completely free from sorrow, from unpredictabilities, from disturbances, that is the highest stage. And to attain Jivan Mukti, you have to actually perform karma to get there, and you have to know which karma to perform. So Baba teaches us how to use our thoughts, words, actions, body, mind, wealth, time, breath, and specialities. So we have these 9 resources, and the Murlis are on how to use these 9 resources thoughts, words, actions, body, mind, wealth, time, breath, and speciality. And so Mama is explaining to us here that it's not being liberated from karma. Baba doesn't say to us, does he, go and sit on a mountain, go and sit in a forest somewhere and just meditate. He says, use your karma to liberate yourself for many future lives, full half cycle, millennia, you will be free from any experience of sorrow. The deities don't even have a word for death. And there are not even any accidents in the golden age. This is the level of freedom that can be attained through this path that Baba is teaching us. So I'll hand back over to you. So this is known as akarma. In the golden age, we have neutral karma because it's as if there's no karma, nothing can come back to you. You just conquer everything now through this practice, that everything just remains permanently happy and peaceful, and there's no variability.
And that's why Baba often says, value this birth, value this Sangam confluence age, because the efforts of this age will help you to have elevated stage and free from having bad actions, performing bad actions, so akarma. But the Supreme Soul has taught Raj Yoga, so self-sovereignty. First here, Baba teaches us self-sovereign. We have had lots of mudlis on self-sovereignty. So it is Raj Yoga, not to have control over anybody else, but on your own sense organs and become your own king. And right now, become your own master and rule your inner kingdom, mind and intellect and sanskar, and also your karma. What you call it? Sense organs, yeah. All the elevated versions of the Supreme Soul point towards family life. Now Mama has explained, it's the Pravruti mark, family life, how to balance, keep balance. What kind of family should there be in this creation, and through which there can be purity, happiness, and peace? The word purity is connected with karma yoga. It isn't that liberation means purity. There is neither purity nor impurity. So there means in Satyu, in golden age.
Soul world, in the soul world, in liberation.
Soul world.
Mukti, man.
Mukti. So there, in the soul world, there is neither purity nor impurity. The word karma yoga and pure karma apply to human beings. The soul has come onto this field of action to play a part. So field of action, this world is our stage or field of action. And that's why in Punjab, Haryana, they have named Kurukshetra. It's in the scripture Mahabharata. And there's a place in Haryana, Kurukshetra, but actually it's Karma Kshetra, field of action. Karma yoga and family life refer to the human world. However, everyone will be liberated. God has explained only to human beings how those who were pure became impure. These words only apply to the game of the human world. The words religion and irreligiousness are also connected with a part. God explains how you can keep your family life pure. It is a question of karma. The soul cannot always remain detached. Only human beings make effort to make their household pure. If they were to be liberated, there would be no question of any game. And therefore, God has given more importance to karma yoga. I mean, we all are familiar with karma yoga because if we go to Madhuban or any centers, we do karma yoga. So this is why Mama says that God has given more importance to karma yoga. Through elevated karma, you create an elevated reward because we are purifying our sense organs also because we have performed actions with our hands, feet, thoughts, everything bad and good and bad. And so we are reversing our actions by doing good elevated karma. Through elevated karma, you create an elevated reward. You can only perform elevated karma on the basis of this easy knowledge and easy yoga. This is the last birth. We have to settle the karmic accounts that were created with the creation through the bondage of karma. There has to be transformation. It is said of this birth, be pure. Later, you would actually be leading a pure life. So we will be, at this moment, we have, in this age, confluence age, we are becoming pure, totally pure once we become, and then we'll reap the fruit of our efforts. And later, that is in Satyug, you would actually be leading a pure life. The world still continues even while there is purity. There are memorials of this created eternally. There has been a creation of every stage. The stage of being viceless is also remembered. Otherwise, there would not be the words pure and impure. If it were the law of the world to indulge in sin, why is the term impure used? This is something to be understood. Now we are making this effort to make our household pure. We must now adopt the karmatit stage. That world is created only by, that world is completely different from this world. We must now adopt the karmatit stage. That world is completely different from this world. That different world is created only by the Supreme Soul. People think that the human world will continue to expand in the same way as it has done.
So this is another concept. As far as I know, this word karmatit is one of Baba's words. The word Jivan Mukti does exist in Bhakti. I don't think the word karmatit does exist in Bhakti. So you'll notice that Mama was running through some different words like karma yoga, and how a Hindu guru would usually explain it is that if you were working in a job and looking after your family, they would term that as karma yoga. And if someone then became a monk or a nun, they would call that karma sannyas, renunciation of karma. So in that context, the word karma does not just mean actions. They are specifically referring to earning money, looking after your family, those sort of physically related actions. And they would say that they, as gurus, have renounced that life and they have become a monk. And so they have taken karma sannyas, the renunciation of karma. And as you know from the Murlis, Baba doesn't teach us to do that. Karma sannyas is not part of Baba's teachings. And in fact, if you live in a center, you're probably working even more, probably working even harder. than when you were before. And of course, brothers and sisters who live in centers who are also doing jobs as well, looking after themselves in the center that way. So Baba doesn't give an option for karma sannyas, but he then introduces this third stage. So he doesn't give us the moksha, this eternal liberation. He doesn't give us the option of karma sannyas, but he introduces us to this concept of becoming karmatit. Karmatit. And this is where we have no burden of past sins accumulated on the soul anymore. So what Mama is saying is, if you think about the golden age and you just think in your third eye of experience, you can visualize it now. Let's all do it as a quick yoga drill. Visualize the golden age. Visualize the whole of this world inhabited only by souls who are karmatic. Imagine this world, and the only souls in this world are karmatic souls, souls with no burden of sin, no impurity inside of them. Let's just do that for a few seconds. Imagine interacting with such souls. Imagine living in a neighborhood with such souls. And so Mama is saying, Shiv Baba is creating a very different world. And he does it through teaching karma, which karma to perform, which karma not to perform. So we don't become karmatit by not performing karma. We become karmatit by performing the right karma. So it's a sophisticated, detailed explanation we're getting from Mama today.
So, we were talking about continue to expand in the same way as it has done. The human beings understand that. But God says, I create the pure world and I also give to you the reward of it at this time. The world expands through being voiceless. Baba often plays voiceless and wireless and Nirakari, Nirvikari, Nirankari. You know those three last words that Baba spoke, voiceless, egoless. There is no question of voice. The world has expanded because of purity. God explains about the eternal household and the original actions. Our original actions were very pure and elevated. This is the field of action. You have to know about good and bad actions. You have to be liberated from the old karmic bondages. This is why we are making effort, and then there is just the reward. At that time, there will be no question of how the world population can increase or how they can remain pure. Only the Creator knows that. God has said, this is sinful action. You can see the consequences of the world having expanded through sinful action. The methods of God would definitely be unique. The intellects of the people of the world cannot even imagine that such a world can be created. Baba explains, my world is pure. Shiv Baba explains, my world is pure. Actions there are pure. An impure intellect cannot understand how a pure world can continue. So Baba has been saying for past 2 weeks every now and again, make your intellect completely pure, plain. Today was the slogan also. So keep your intellect so clean, and Dadi's mantra, simplicity, purity, sadgi, swachhta, cleanliness. So Baba says to be separated from your part is not a stage. So karmatic stage is beyond actions, beyond, but perform actions, but be beyond all the vices and beyond this old world. And so here, Baba, an impure intellect cannot understand how a pure world can continue. To be separated from your part is not a stage. The world of family life is remembered as being elevated. It has become difficult for human beings to understand this. This is why they have been falling. The karmic accounts of sorrow pull them. So Mama explained why people are going down and down. Is karmic accounts are pulling them towards sorrow. So she's explaining why there's so much sorrow, because people are performing such actions and they continue, and this is pulls them, this karmic accounts of sorrow. Whereas the karmic accounts of happiness pulls them towards happiness. You have to understand this contrast. Now, there is no question of the world expanding any further. We now have to return home. In order to be liberated from karmic bondages, you have to imbibe complete purity. Sampurna purity, Sampurna pavitrata, complete purity. Acha, Om Shanti.
Would anyone like to ask anything or make any comments?
Om Shanti, could you mind posting the link to this Moodle, please, in the chat? Unable to get this, especially the English version. Thank you.
Let me try and find the book, because the Murlis we hear most mornings, they are Baba's Murlis. This is one of Mama's classes. So let me see if I can find this book of Mama's classes as a PDF, and then I can put it onto the chat.
Thank you.
Sure. Would anyone like to ask anything? Everyone is content?
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
My early days in coming to Baba, Mama's book had given me a lot of inspiration. I think after Adi Dev, that was one of the books I read immediately after. And in my Brahmin life, karma philosophy has always been a big part of the knowledge for me. And I am thinking that in the confluence age, when we come to Baba, yes, we make the effort, but there are times when we may have receded with our actions. And in carrying that forward, because whatever we do, from my understanding, is what we carry forward into the golden age. And Baba often talks also of those who come last can go first as well. So what is the difference? My understanding is the difference. If you've come last and you have followed Srimat to the letter, you can go ahead of those who are there for years. But for those who've been here with Baba for years and their effort is sometimes fluctuating, how does that transcribe into golden age in going forward? I remember early in our classes with you, I had always the thought that if it is, I have not finished or devices in me. I always thought it became dormant on my way back. We go back pure into soul's world. And I always felt that from copper age going forward, what I had not finished would emerge. And I had asked you that question. Why is it I may have a stronger vice in one area and you may have one in a different area? So if I had the vice of lust very strong and you had anger, what made the difference? Because we would have come completely pure from gold into silver and now into the copper. So I always had that thought and I still have it sometimes. What you had explained is that we will be completely pure in golden age, in confluence age going back. So we have no karmas there. We in souls will without karmas. So is it really that I finished all my karmas and my happiness and sorrow for the cycle to come is what I do now? What happens now? So your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thank you. So I think there are two accounts, aren't there? One is the debts that we have from the past, and that is cleared even for souls who are not BKs. So Baba says that what's going on at the moment is the time of settlement. And either through yoga, that's our preference, or through settling, everyone will clear their debts. So that is one level of purity. But the type of purity that we just heard from Mama was very much about pure karma being accumulated. So what you're talking about is every soul clearing their past one way or another. But there is definitely going to be a difference in the account of accumulation. And this is why Baba says it's number wise. So that will be different in terms of the level of happiness, the level of blissfulness, both internally and externally, that a soul would experience in the golden and silver age. However, and then later, you see, from the copper age, because of the account of accumulation, the soul might more quickly become susceptible to influence. That's possible as well. But having said that, you see, if you're in a more powerful position, you probably perform more bad karma more quickly. You see, also in the cycle, because usually copper and iron age, it's a general who becomes a king. It's these things are done through violence mainly, and so if you've got wealth and power, you perform worse actions in the copper and iron age than if you're more ordinary. So I think depends how we look at it. But then I think I have a more optimistic present mindset than what you are describing. The scenario you presented is maybe a BK, for one reason or another, has become a little careless, or they've not kept their accuracy to the level they should have, or even if they have been accurate, they maybe not made the most of the opportunities that they had. And when I look at Baba and my own personal experience as well, I see a great deal of compassion. And it came in last Sunday's Morally, but I think I forgot to mention it in the recording, is one thing that Dedi Janki used to pick up on is where Baba says that he doesn't announce the result until the end. He always says this, that the rosary will be completed at the end. The only results he announces are of Mama and Baba. They are 1 and 2. That's it. That's fixed. For everyone else, even for the 8 jewels, he does not announce it right until the end. And she used to mention this as in the with the spectacles of God's compassion. That even if you've got a Brahmin who presently is careless, they're not doing as much as they should be doing. Because the result is not announced until the end, it gives them an opportunity to turn it around. And the second, but you do need it over a period of time, so you can't just hang around forever here. And then the second is God's compassion in the form of a bonus. And so what we see is that Baba from time to time gives multiplications where a soul has done something particularly special and unique. So my message would be that if you are a BK who maybe is regretting, you wasted time, maybe you didn't follow Srimad the way you should have followed Srimad. For example, I know of some BKs, they were with Baba and then some sanskars pulled them, they even got married, and then now they're putting their purity back in place and they're getting their BK lifestyle back in place. Now, as you know, Baba says, try to stay single because once you create a karmic account, you can't really avoid this. So there's always going to be then, because the other person is needy. They are not connected with Baba. And so they will experience sorrow if you're then just wanting to connect with Baba. So Baba always advises us, try not to create more karmic accounts. But okay, it's happened. So what my advice is the sincerity of your spiritual endeavor. And you will know that I've added in this early Amrit Vela. And then we've got extra studying, we've got maybe extra service opportunities. Why we do these things is we're saying that maybe I have been careless. So 4 till 4:45 is not enough for me. For me, I have to do a bit extra to catch up, to get the extra bonus. Then for service as well, I can remember this happening a few times over the decades, actually. The first one I remember is when Gyan Sarovar was being built, and then shortly afterwards, Shantivan was being built. And I can remember Daddy Prakash Muni sending a letter to all the centers saying that every Brahmin has to contribute at least 1 rupee per week into these tasks. And it's quite unusual, like we don't usually get asked for, but it was like a chance that there was a time of need. These things had to be done. And as we can see, so many Brahmins had to go and meet Baba, come to Madhaban. So you do need these things. And it was an opportunity. I've shared with you stories that Dedi Janki used to share when the history hall was being built and how students at her center who were very poor, they would go there. She used to tell the story of that mother at the Pune center who had 8 children. But then she used to clean people's houses. But then in order to contribute, because Baba had said, whoever wishes to put a brick into the history hall, Baba will turn their brick into a palace. In the golden age, it's their handful of rice story. And this mother, she was quite good at sewing. So through sewing, she managed to accumulate this much gold. And when Daddy sold the gold, she got literally 2 rupees, and Baba was able to buy 1 brick exactly. Into the history hall. But it was that extra effort, it was the extra bit that did it. That was the bit that gave the bonus marks. And it came up, we had it here in the UK again. It's very unusual. Sister Jayanti sent a letter around April, May 2020 during the pandemic, because Daddy had wanted the Global Retreat Center to be refurbished and ready. So again, we got a letter around that BKs will need because now no one can go to the center during the pandemic. So everyone will need to just do it. So again, that's how I saw it. I saw it as an opportunity for the bonus. You know, it's a time of need. That's right. Now it might not be money, you know, it could be a time of need where we got to go and help with the cooking. We got to go and you know, something else. But I would say this would be my message. If you are a BK, you've made a mistake in the past, you regret it now, you may have been careless. Understand God's compassion. God is not here to judge you. He is here to help you. So if Baba can turn someone who has accumulated negative karma into a king, that is more satisfying for Baba than someone who had a straight path and got there, because the greatness of God is realized in the degraded. The greatness of God is realized in the poor who become rich, in the impure who become pure, in the careless who become accurate. So that would be my message, not that it's too late at all. But you're going to have to do something special. Don't think that it can just be done. Show your quality, and then you will actually become a shining diamond for the Brahmin family. Who, if someone does that and then accumulates a great account of charity and good karma and yoga power and blessings, who is going to remember their mistakes? I mean, who will care about that? It is unimportant compared to what they achieve. And this is why Baba says, I will only judge the result at the end.
You remember the big joy when she gave 4,000 pounds for Baba Pawan. Now look how.
Sister, was it Sister Mariana? Did you want to ask something? Did I see a raised hand?
Good morning. Shanti, everybody.
Shit.
Thank you very much for your very interesting and illuminating presentation. I just wanted to ask you if you could possibly talk to us about our role within Gaya, within the knowledge, in working with nature, respecting all sentient beings, animals, all living creatures. Because when we tend to think of karma, we tend to think of our human connections. But what about connections to nature, connections to animals, respect for the earth? With those things in mind, what do you think? What can you tell us? What examples can you give us?
Yeah, thank you. Sister, let's do a full class on this at some point, but it is a topic that I have been thinking quite a lot about. And actually, I was thinking about it in the context of why we offer Bhog. And if you think about it, I think it's probably true in all of our countries that all of the earth has had some battle on it at some point. You know, you go back through your country's history, we have just been fighting. And like, I think now here in England, like we say, for example, we purchase a packet of tomatoes, now those tomatoes might be grown in a field where once there was a battle and the dead bodies are in that ground. And they will still be buried in that ground, and the soil is actually created out of the corpse of the violence. And you think about it, you know, and then we could think about the ocean and we could think about the air. You know, why does Baba get us to offer Bhog? It's because actually every element within this world has got violence filled within it. And so I think, as I say, let me just share in short now and then we should do a proper, full, detailed exploration on this another time. But why does Baba say, prepare the bhog in Baba's remembrance, offer the bhog to Baba, and then eat it like that? Because actually, as human beings, there is not one element we have not filled the vices in and performed bad karma inside of it. So I think for us as Brahmins, it is the pure vegetarian diet that Baba teaches us, the pure lifestyle that Baba is teaching us. He's teaching us not to use the vices. So what that does is firstly change the relationship between the soul and the body. So the body is the representation of Mother Nature that's closest to us. So what Baba explains is that this body is created of the 5 elements. The space within the body, in the mouth and in the tubes, this is the space, same element. The air that we breathe, the oxygen, that is air. Most of the body is water. It's surprising, isn't it, how hot the body is, because there's this fire inside of the body. Outside 37 degrees will be very hot. Inside it must be 37 degrees Celsius. Then you think about earth, the bones and the skin and the flesh going back to earth. So we have been performing so much violence to these 5 elements outside for many centuries. And we have been using many bodies also created of the 5 elements to put more violence into the 5 elements outside. So this current body that we get at the end of the cycle, it is the representation of all of the karmic accounts. So what Mama was saying at the end of her class, that because of these old karmic accounts, you will get sorrow. So what you see with Brahmins in particular, they are going through many different illnesses currently. I will give my own example. I am a glaucoma patient, and the glaucoma is, I have been born with long eyeballs. And so glaucoma is an illness of water build up in the eye. Because the eyeball is long, the water does not come out. And so it damages my vision. So I am partially sighted because half my vision has gone through this illness. Now, as Baba's child, I know from knowledge that this karmic account with water is coming back to me now through the water in this body. But maybe, for example, I was shipping, like in past lives, what karma we have performed through shipping, through slavery, through business, like through war. And we have used the ocean for performing so many bad karma. Rivers we are polluting. So my karmic account with water will now come through water in the body, like this. So as I say, I'm sharing in short, and we should have longer class on this topic, but I will leave it for everyone to churn for now. That think about the ailments in your body, and through that you can understand the karmic accounts that you particularly have and you are settling. So now what Baba teaches us is through offering the bhog, you are actually serving the elements because you are adding in yoga and purity. And then Baba teaches us that Amrit Vela, and also through the day, if you stay in Baba's remembrance, wherever you go, Baba's vibration it serves the elements. So serving the body, serving the elements is part of our reversing of our karma. Does that answer in brief a little bit?
Yes, thank you so much. That gives me a lot to think about, because actually I was thinking more about the present rather than the past. I didn't think, when I thought about, let's say, vegetable produce being grown, I usually think of pesticides and what is used, again, perhaps from human greed, like to make more produce, a produce that looks good to buy, but is not actually good because so many pesticides have been used. And I was also thinking of actually looking at the dairy industry, because there is a lot of violence in there, thinking especially of the dairy cows, which are very, very intelligent animals. I have been to animal sanctuaries for rescued farm animals, and I have I've interacted with cows, and they're just beautiful beings. And in order to produce the dairy milk, they undergo unimaginable suffering. And I was also thinking, considering that there is all this beautiful milk that is offered to us from cashew, from soya, from oat, from almond, why then would we need to enslave these beautiful animals in order to, for what? Why? I was actually thinking only about the present practices in farming. I was not thinking about the past. So thank you for this. I appreciate it, and I look forward to your class, your presentation on this subject.
Yeah,
Shanti.
Thanks for the
Yeah,
question and the
yes.
contribution.
In the in the meantime, Dadi and always said, after you do your 45 minutes Amrit Vela from 4 to or 20 to 5, and then give 5 minutes or more and give vibrations to the earth and everything, because we have violated all those rules. And Baba often reminds us, whenever somebody asks when Dadi Gulzar wasn't well and Mama had throat cancer, they said, Baba, but why are they suffering so much? Baba said, don't forget you have taken so many 63 births. You were the first ones on this earth, and you are leading everyone. You were, when you got degraded, then you have everybody has followed you in performing bad actions, so you have to reverse your actions as well. So serve the all the elements, and so give them more time. And in the evening also, Baba says you are the ancestor souls, and you serve them in the evening. That's why it's important to 7 to 7:30 meditation and accuracy in all those. That will help.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful. I love that. And just one more thing I wanted to add, just because it's Mama's Day. In Adidevi, I remember reading that even when she was so sick, when the Murli was she had speakers in her room, so she could listen to the Murli. And although she was in so much pain and she was suffering and her body wasn't feeling comfortable, she always insisted on sitting up to listen to the Murli. And I just thought, wow, that is such an example of discipline. I was really humbled by that.
Yeah,
We'll be reading the messages. won't we?
we'll read the messages.
As Mama's days come near, we'll be reading more of her messages and her experiences. And also one doctor who came to see Mama. Mama was always cheerful in hospital, and her carer, the Brahmani, what we call the carer sister, who had a very worried look on her face as if she's in a lot of pain. And doctor thought she was the patient. So she asked, and she said, no, I'm not the patient. Mama is the patient. And then he said, well, she's so cheerful. And how can she be the patient? So Mama taught us that.
That's
Okay, we
beautiful.
end there now. Yeah.
Yes. Let's finish with a few minutes of meditation and drishti from Mama. Thank you all. Om Shanti, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Om Shanti.
Thank you.